In December, Danny Ham feared the worst. Launching a video at a Newcastle retailer, the 18-year-old thought he might make the start of the Supercross Masters after tearing ligaments, but in a remarkable story of determination and will, Ham was back at the track today, fighting on despite the injury.
I've got to try and win a few races this year, you could say, to pay for my operation I've got to get, you know, so it's okay at the moment, and as long as I don't do anything stupid or crash, and I mean, you don't want to crash anyway, then it should be alright.
The Motordrome has been dumped with tons of dirt in the lead up to Saturday's season opener. Australia's Best joining this afternoon for track familiarisation. It's short, but the jumps are high, and promising he'll be among the action this year is another Newcastle local, Craig Anderson. Ando finished second last year and looking to go that one step further in '97. He's got a new bike and a fresh approach to racing.
It's going really well. Had a good ride out there just on the press then, and I jumped everything pretty quick, so it was okay.
The man they all have to beat is defending champ Peter Melton, but with the young brigade hot on his heels, he admits winning is no easy assignment.
You know, it's just going to be a great race. Everyone's riding really well from what I could see so far today, and I'm just looking forward to Saturday night.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
In the early hours of last Sunday morning, Heidi Ellis was killed on Riverside Drive. After a night out on the town, she had been arguing with her boyfriend near an empty car yard. The 33-year-old local went across the road and was allegedly struck and killed by an oncoming vehicle. Police say the driver got out of his car and looked briefly before continuing his journey. A public appeal was launched, police releasing an identikit picture and a vehicle description. Finally, a breakthrough.
Following good work by Maxwell detectives yesterday afternoon, subsequently information was received and transmitted up to Tweed Heads Police. As a result, a 31-year-old Nambucca man was arrested at Kingscliff.
He was charged with one count of negligent driving, occasioning death, and one of failing to stop and give assistance. The man will appear at Tweed Heads local court next month, where he will enter a plea. Meanwhile, police are continuing their investigation.
A white Valiant sedan was taken into police custody for mechanical examination at a later date.
Katrina Hines, NBN News.
Matthew Smith and Darren Mowat proudly inspected their machines today. Months of preparation has finally paid off, and both are ready for their assault on the Australian titles. Round 2 of the Australian Powerboat Championship starts with tomorrow's heats. The Formula 2 struggle between the local duo said to be one of the highlights of the meeting.
Yeah, hopefully we'll do well. Darren's new, he's only had 2 or 3 races, and I've been around for a few years, so with a bit of luck I should be able to beat him.
Yes, yeah. Well, a bit of local rivalry between myself and Matthew. I think if we get in the top 12, we'll be wrapped.
Both men have fine-tuned their craft for the titles, and while their machines are running smoothly, anything can happen on Newcastle Harbour.
What we've been told, it's pretty swelly on the harbour, so we're just going out and just on a big learning curve, really.
And just when you thought it was all over, National Sailing Championships continue on Lake Macquarie. Marmong Point Sailing Club is hosting the Australian titles of the Spiral class over the next 4 days. The 40-strong field taking to the water this afternoon for an invitation race. 7 heats in 6 divisions will be completed by Monday. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
The 21-year-old Panamanian vessel MV Hunter sailed into more troubled waters today. It was due to steam into Newcastle Harbour, but engine failure has it still wallowing 7 kilometres off the coast. Earlier today, the International Transport Workers Federation successfully argued that the 23 crew on board the vessel had been underpaid. An Admiralty Marshal took control of the ship immediately.
It's out of the hands, out of the control of the master and the owners. It's now been confiscated, if you like.
An inquiry has now been set down for this weekend into the alleged ship of shame.
The most important question of all, of global importance, why didn't the management of the ship notify shore authorities that there was a man overboard much sooner than they did?
The 33-year-old Honduran who sparked the controversy after jumping ship has been in the care of the Mission for Seamen and spent time with the Newcastle family since his 10-hour ocean ordeal. Meanwhile, a second ship has been detained after a search by Maritime Safety Authority officials. The Maltese-owned coal carrier Thomas Hope was found to be unseaworthy and will be held in Newcastle Harbour until improvements are carried out. Blake Doyle, NBN News, Late Edition.
A winning hand for punters who collected $6 and $1.80. The trifecta $380.20. Another showcase of sprinters in race 6 over 1,200 metres. A great finish by the winner to pay $360 and $160. The trifecta $338.80. Racing was also at Caulfield, our best, race 6 over 1,200 metres. The winner paid $5.70 and $2. The Quinella $7.20 and the trifecta just a tad under $100.
After yesterday's windy opening round of the championships, players had to battle intermittent showers at Belmont Golf Club this afternoon, but the return of clear skies brought with it some inspirational golf. Most of it came from the UK's Sean Webster. After a 5-over par 77 in his opening round, the English amateur champion could do nothing wrong. After 13, he was 7 under for the day, then this set up another birdie on 14. Webster was ruthless with the putter, the rest of the field shadowed by his extraordinary efforts. Local Waratah golfer Nathan Green drew big galleries, but 1 under at the 9th, and looking at an eagle, the New South Wales representative charged the putt and missed the one coming back. A disappointing back nine for the joint overnight leader Bryce McDonald. After picking up one shot on the front, consecutive bogeys on 12 and 13 saw him slide down the leaderboard. WA's Scott Strange is still there after day 2, his good form rubbing off on playing partner Jason Ashcroft. The South Coast left-hander was the day's other big mover, 4 under par after 9. The top 90 players move through to the 3rd round tomorrow. Morning showers cleared for the 3rd round of the tournament this afternoon, and big crowds turned out to lend their support. Most were following overnight leader Jeff Ogilvy. The 19-year-old Victorian shot a 7 under 65 yesterday. The birdies were harder to come by today, but a brilliant chip on the 9th pushed him to 8 under the card. By the 14th, that had gone to 10 under, but his chances of going further in front laid buried in the bunker. No such par 3 bunker troubles for Scott Strange. Starting the round at 4 under, the West Australian had the perfect touch from the sand on 12. But if that was good, this was brilliant. The shot of the day from Bryce McDonald. The hole-in-one skyrocketed the Sydney amateur to 8 under and earned praise from fans. The grin said it all. Joining him at 8 under was WA's Brett Rumford, albeit in a less explosive manner. 5 birdies and no bogeys, helping the youngster maintain his charge up the leaders board. Trying to maintain his extraordinary efforts yesterday, new course record holder Sean Webster, but the Englishman's putter wasn't being helpful. The UK amateur champion missed a number of birdie opportunities midway through the round. Trying to emulate the performances of Sean Webster, the top 70 players contest the final 18 holes of the tournament tomorrow.
Against a blackened backdrop, a spray of colour. 6,000 onlookers turned out to ooh and ah at the spectacular on Newcastle's foreshore last night, ensuring a bright start to the city's 200th birthday celebrations. The 3-day party has kept the city buzzing, highlighted by the arrival of Susie Moroney and her record-breaking swim from Sydney to Newcastle. Colourful characters, beach activities and good old-fashioned Aussie music also featured. Police kept a high profile over the weekend, twice as many on the beat than last year, but only 7 minor arrests were made.
The people really behaved themselves and caused no problems, and it certainly reduced our workload.
Police concede the family mood surrounding Australia Day helped to temper behaviour. They're continuing their push for better conduct at other big functions like New Year's Eve, a night riddled with unruly behaviour.
The police and local government and various external agencies have already commenced meetings, so we can try and improve the atmosphere for New Year and bring it back to a more community type atmosphere.
No problems today either. Holiday revellers content to soak up the sun and cool down. Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
It wasn't the start organisers were hoping for. Craft were left stranded in Throsby Creek while competitors waited for harbour traffic, but a patient crowd lined the foreshore for the action. More than 2 hours after the scheduled start, it finally arrived. Australia's fastest boat started from Newcastle Harbour, thundering east past the brewery before turning at the heads and racing back up the Hunter River. More than 100 crews competed in 20 classes, leading the way the big unlimited machines, although some had a less than perfect start, defending champion and current record holder Crazy Horse, the first to come to grief. On their feet and reaching speeds in excess of 170 kilometres an hour, the unrestricted class made the 32-kilometre dash to Raymond Terrace. Crazy Horse tried gamely to overcome that sloppy start with skiers Paul Robertson and Jamie Grisanio, but they weren't the only team needing to catch up ground. Problems also for Arjo. No concerns for the Sting. Towing Sydney siders Daniel Campbell and Daniel Auld, they raced to a narrow first leg lead, finishing the sprint to the terrace in 13:47, a quarter of a second quicker than Stinger. Exhausted, the crews returned to Newcastle, the second leg testing endurance of both machines and bodies. Despite attempts from the challengers to bridge the deficit, the Sting was too fast, finishing in 30:31.
The boys skied exceptionally well. I mean, we had a little bit tired going up, but coming back they skied exceptionally well. I'm very, very proud of them. They did a very good job.
Second was fellow Sydney starter Stinger. Local Boat Showdown finished third. Jonathan Upton, NBN News. Clear skies brought hundreds out for the final 18 holes of the championships. Even tennis ace Jason Stoltenberg was part of the gallery. At the start of the round, 6 players had a realistic chance of victory, and after the first few holes, not much had changed. But as the afternoon nor'easterly blew up, some started to go astray. New course record holder Sean Webster was one to fold. A double bogey on 9 saw him slide from 7 to 5 under par and out of contention. West Australian Scott Strange was still thereabouts, but his chances of bothering the top trio fell away with 3 putts on the 9th. The final group had the tournament between them, overnight leaders Jeff Ogilvie and Brett Rumford joining yesterday's hole-in-one hero Bryce McDonald. Heading into the par 5 9th, only one shot separated the three, but Ogilvie found the perfect touch, this for an eagle 3. McDonald 3-putted the same hole to slip back to 9 under the card, but the Sydney sider got the shot back on 11 with one of the putts of the day. But it was Ogilvie in front, a birdie on 10, nearly followed up by another on the next. Rumford was the quiet achiever, but the West Australian fell short on a number of birdie opportunities on the back 9, while Ogilvie showed no signs of folding. A 300-metre plus drive on 15 kept the youngster heading for victory, and on the 18th he finished off in style, a birdie for a tournament record 14 under par 274.
It is the second year I've been here, and both times I've had it's the best tournament we play in Australia, and it's one of the best amateur tournaments we've played in the world, so thank you very much.
The Awabakal Aboriginal Cooperative services the health needs of 11,000 Aboriginal people in the Hunter. In the last federal budget, it suffered a $250,000 cutback. It's meant the service has lost 5 administrative staff and is now looking at health programs.
It will be a very diminished service. We're actually now trying to sit down and put strategies together to deal with what money we do have left.
One program under threat is a dental service which visits local school children. Money to employ a dental assistant will run out shortly.
I no longer have a job as of June this year, unfortunately.
Funding for the service itself runs out at the end of the year. Awabakal is happy to stand on its financial record.
We're an organisation that's accountable, responsible and very vital.
Coalition Senator John Tierney toured the centre today, promising to take a second look at its funding.
I know that's caused some problems in cutbacks in administration, and I'm here today to have a look at that and see what we can do possibly in the next budget to try and fix up some of those problems as well.
The Awabakal Cooperative is hoping the message will reach government decision makers before the next budget is handed down. Nicole Webb, NBN News.
District Commander Heinz Muller walked into the hardest media conference of his life today. His 35-year service ended by a 30-minute chat with the Police Commissioner.
He advised me yesterday that I was not going to be one of those people on his new executive team.
The man who's run the Hunter District for 5 years has been offered a demotion, but he's most likely to retire when his contract finishes on July 1. Despite his disappointment, the District Commander won't be drawn on the man who sacked him.
He's a commissioner, he's a person that is chartered with bringing this force back on track, and it's his responsibility. How he goes about it is for him, not for me to comment about.
The sackings come in the wake of the Wood Royal Commission into corruption, but Chief Inspector Muller rejects any speculation about his record.
I have no concerns about that. We've had a Royal Commission now for 2.5 years. Not one of my members of this district have mentioned the Royal Commission.
Maitland District Commander Ian Campbell is also believed to be considering his options. The future of the Central Coast District Commander is less certain. Chief Inspector Lola Scott met with the Police Commissioner today. An announcement is expected tomorrow. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
For cattle and dairy producers in the Hunter Valley, the rain hasn't come a moment too soon. Apart from a few recent storms, the district has endured months of dry conditions, leaving the land dry and parched.
And it's a critical time to get good growth for the cattle, but also to build up a bulk of feed going into winter, which isn't all that far away.
Since the weekend, some areas in the valley have recorded falls well in excess of 10 centimetres of good soaking rains. The Hunter River is rising and farm dams are now full to overflowing. It's one less headache for cattle producers struggling against low prices.
At least this weather now will improve the feed situation. They won't have to sell because of feed shortages, and at least that sort of reduces at least one of the problems that they're facing.
New South Wales Agriculture says what's needed now is good follow-up rains. In wine-growing country, the rain is an inconvenience. Most wineries had planned to begin picking this week. Winemakers are hoping the rain will stop soon before the grapes are affected too much by the extra moisture.
Last week they were ripening up beautifully, the sugars were coming up nicely. They're not ripe yet. The acidity was dropping, it was all starting to come together slowly. The rain will just help sort of water that down a bit, and we've got to now wait for it to come back to those ripening levels again.
Weather forecasters say showers are likely to persist in the Hunter Valley for at least the next few days. There is an upside to the rain. Once the picking is over, the extra moisture will give the vines a kick-start for next season. Phil Hind, NBN News.
Follow the oar in front. Timing and balance.
It took just a few minutes for 3 men to rob the Newcastle Permanent Building Society at Mount Hutton last week. Armed with high-powered weapons, they terrorised staff and customers. The gang is just one of possibly 3 separate groups, which since September 1995 have carried out 11 armed hold-ups in the region. By studying security photos like these, detectives hope to identify those responsible and bring to an end the alarming number of armed robberies which has netted a huge haul.
All up, without being specific, I'd have to say within the vicinity of $500,000.
What detectives do know is that this man who robbed the Westpac and the National Australia banks in the city and the Swansea branch of the Westpac Bank isn't very well organised. However, the other 2 groups are, and they are well armed. One man in particular stands out in several security photos.
We have the group that we've dubbed the Big Nose, and he may be a part of the 3rd group.
Police are making inquiries interstate and in Sydney, but it appears the 3 groups are operating in the Hunter region only. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Emergency services swooped on the Rebels motorcycle clubhouse in Lambton after reports of gunfire. Most people won't talk about what happened for fear of reprisals, but one person has broken the silence.
There was probably about 3 or 4 gunshots, and then about 2 or 3 minutes later there was a few more, and so my husband had a look out the front window and said, that there was something going on.
15 men stormed the bikie headquarters, leaving a path of destruction in their wake. Defenceless gang members were bashed with mattock handles, baseball bats and pool cues. Several shots were fired and a 25-year-old Glendale man was hit in the leg.
The remaining 7 we transported also to John Hunter Hospital. They suffered fractured arms and legs.
Today, a steady stream of members from the Rebels Motorcycle Club arrived at the hospital to visit their injured mates. Last night's ordeal caps off a tense few months for Wyong Road residents, many complaining they've been threatened by members of the gang.
They've only been there for probably 3 or 4 months, and we're pretty sort of frightened, because they haven't got a good reputation.
Police are still searching for the attackers, fearful that a gang war could erupt if the situation is not brought under control. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. One in every 100 people suffer from schizophrenia, a brain disorder which affects the way people interpret information. Until now, research into the disease has been mostly fragmented, institutions across the state carrying out their own work individually. But a $2 million grant from the state government will allow them to pool their resources.
We have some great ideas here, and particularly very good researchers in Newcastle. We want to make sure that that collaborative approach works.
The National Institute of Schizophrenia and Allied Disorders will distribute the money. Plans are already underway to establish a clinical research and human tissue centre at the University of Newcastle.
If we can understand this condition better, and these methods, these research methods will help us to do that, it will follow. I expect that treatments will improve and outcome will improve.
Today's announcement coincides with a meeting to discuss the treatment of schizophrenia in Newcastle this weekend. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. The buskers joined the birds for today's concert, a harmonious duet of sound. While some were reluctant to shake a tail feather, others weaved their own magic. The celebration to commemorate World Wetlands Day gave people the chance to see and experience the bird sanctuary.
It's for people to understand that you can't go filling them in forever, that they're a wonderful habitat for bird life that we all love and enjoy.
As well as raising the park's profile, organisers have another agenda, hoping to regain some of their lost sponsorship, which has cost them financially.
At the present time, we've lost a lot of support that we used to have. Maybe people have taken us for granted. So today's event will put us back on the map.
Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
Metre-and-a-half swells made conditions at Camden Haven too treacherous for the 450 nippers from across the region. They were confined to the beach events most of the day. It became a battle between the region's two dominant clubs, Port Macquarie running out eventual winners on 126 points, just 4 ahead of South West Rocks, although South West were declared handicap winners. Meantime, young basketballers from across the region took to the court at the Taree Stadium today under the watchful eye of Basketball Australia head coach Bernie Slattery. The basketball camp is the first for the year in the Pacific Basketball Series. The intensive 2-day training session concentrated heavily on theory. The camp was by invitation only. The young hopefuls didn't just get a taste of what it takes to make a top-line player, but what they can expect from a top-line coach. The local Taree competition is due to get underway shortly. Phil Hind, NBN News.